My name is Håkan Lidbo. I'm partially here to talk about projects that I built, but also why I built them and where the ideas come from. Because I'm interested in the phenomenon of ideas, why some have a lot, and some people can't even, imagine that the world is changing, that can't even imagine climate change or evolution or stuff like that. So ideas change the world, and lack of ideas is our worst enemy. I'm a musician, and when you make music, it's all about imagination. You have to imagine the sound and the melody, and then bring it to life. Improvised music is like real-time imagination. This far, I released more than 350 records. And making all these records, to me, it was training in imagination, in practicing my idea-making skills. I also believe that people like us can make a difference. I mean, building synthesizer won't erase poverty, but the fact that we do what we love, and it makes us happy to invent and to imagine. I think that's an inspiration for many. I also think that the synthesizer is one of the most important innovation in modern time. I mean, a machine that can make sounds like sounds nothing on earth. It is an imagination machine, and that's why I think it's so magic. So I think making new musical interfaces might prove to be important. To explore if making music is a unique human ability, we gave synthesizer to the monkeys of Stockholm Zoo to see if they had any musical skills. But they didn't. They really suck. So this experiment wasn't really a great success. 8 years ago, we spent specially composed music into space from the Swedish space station S-Range. It was meant as a business card from humanity. Now the signal has traveled 8 light years into space. Still no reply. So very often my projects fail. Here's another project that failed, is mock-ups of a sort of modular synthesizer with a e-ink flexible touchscreen. It was too difficult, couldn't find the people that were willing to spend the time to build it, so it failed. This is synth that was built on the hours of the day. That was a really bad idea, so it failed. Every failure means more knowledge. But actually, most of the time, the project that will work. This is one, is music controlled by brainwave, and it actually works. You can find it at Tekniska Museet in Stockholm. When you meditate or think of one thing only, like when you sit and watch the sunset or the beach, then the dominating wave or alpha waves from the brain, about 5 hertz. If you have another mindset to think about language or mathematics or logic, is theta waves, which is around 12, 15 hertz. So you can measure that. And by measuring those patterns, you control the altitude in this 3D space. Some sort of tunnel that is created by the waveforms of the music that you actually compose with. So they're like bars of music. So it's like a 3D timeline of these 3 musical elements. Also at Tekniska Museet, you can find this strange music instrument. By touching different zones of the instrument, and then you touch each other's skin, you create different musical combinations. And you can make up to 5 stems. Each stem is represented by a backlit animation, synchronized with the music. And the more people interact, the more harmonic and uplifting the music and the animations. The whole sculpture is vibrating with vibration loudspeakers. So deaf people that otherwise can't hear music, they can see it and feel it. And it was a really interesting experience for me to compose music that doesn't just sound good, but it vibrates well as well. This project was developed in collaboration with many different groups of disabled people. most children and youngsters. And here is a very ugly scale 1:1 cardboard prototype to find out the size and the shape. This project was also made for and in collaboration with blind people. It's a tennis game, but there is no ball. So instead you play with sound and music. The rackets have infrared light pointing in all directions, and the net is a box with 2 modified Wii controllers. And they read the positions and the movement of the racket. You play between 4 speakers, and the ball is a sound that is is a tone that is, the pitch is simulating earthly gravity. And this is probably the worst spectator game there is, because there is no ball, there's nothing to see. So we made this visual interface for the audience. This is music walkway with the movement of the people. On this walkway, control music like this. We did one for Stockholm International Airport that worked slightly different. Where we also built this drum machine, probably the world's biggest drum machine. It's 10 meters wide. It's also a social machine. You have to make friends in order to make music. Bass drum is the lower row, then it's a snare drum and hi-hat. And you have to hold the buttons in order to make sounds, like Spider-Man playing Twister. And it's also a game. If you find 3 tones amongst all these drum sounds, then you level and you get a new drum kit. Up to level 5, then you win the game. This is a 4-meter synth controller only using flip switches. And each column is, you can say that each column is a fader. There are 7 flip switches, which is 128 binary. So the lower one is 1, 2, 4, 8, and so forth. So you can control mid-value. Instead of all music controllers that is a fade between 0, minimum, maximum, this just jumps and down between different values. I use this to control Ableton Live, but most of all, it looks really cool. We built this interactive music tree for Malmö Concert Hall. When you hit the tubes on the trees, it takes the sound, the acoustic sound of these funnels, of these tubes, and makes loops out of them, and play them through the branch of the tree, through the funnels. And if you play the right combination, it unleash like loops, music loops from the root of the tree. This one, I don't know, is a bunch of PlayStation Buzz controllers, where each controller is controlling a musical stem. But I don't know, the egg, I don't really know what I was thinking there, but it's kind of fun. This is the jacket where you touch yourself in different zones, or a friend with the same jacket. The different combination make synchronized loops. Everything is in sync, so you can come up to 320 loops with these. This simple interface is a Raspberry Pi build. So there's a lot of ideas, and most of them are about exploring what music can be except what it already is. Well, I guess you know about locked groove, vinyl records where the needle is not moving inwards but in parallel loops. And if there happen to be 133.333 BPM, then the one revolution exactly the same length of one loop. So if you have 4 of them, you have a lot of musical possibilities. If you have the same record in 4 different copies, this is a spatial multi-directional loudspeaker that will compose Reno songs only with clicks for this special instrument. This is some sort of future violin built by an IKEA table and some conductive copper tape. This is an idea of an electronic dart board that can be a 16-step sequencer, which is super difficult to program if you're not good at Dart. These are like robot servos that can hit and play on everyday objects. I took musicians from Kungliga Musikhögskolan, KMH, and I gave them headphones and then air protection outside the headphones, so they couldn't hear their fellow musicians, and also masks, so they couldn't recognize their fellow musicians. Then I could control them remote by feeding them individual audio tracks that they had to follow. So they didn't have a clue what to play until they heard it. Or forcing people to play percussion by inducing electricity into their muscles. So I think that's very democratic. I mean, You say that everyone could play music, but how about those who don't? I mean, the people that don't want to play music, but they have to play music. I tried to build a gesture alphabet for music control with leap motion. The number of fingers and the direction of the movement, giving instruction how many keys up or down compared to the previous key. So that was the idea. Very difficult, and it didn't work. This is an app. I'm not here to talk about app projects. I made a few software, but to explain how an idea can evolve from one idea to something else. So I made this app called Yellowfire, and it's pretty cool. It transforms any sound into funky music in less than a second. You can make a song in less than a minute, believe me. The app became a part of Volkswagen campaign for a new electric car, collaborating with Yellow. And there was actually a guy who won a car with a kind of crappy song I did on a very nice app. And then it became a virtual car ballet. So it came from one idea, then it transformed into other ideas. I was thinking, on this app is my big finger who's twisting small colored cubes, colored blocks as a music interaction. If it was the other way, that I was really small and the cubes were really big, so we built this 8 cubic meter inflatable cubes with a gyro, so it feels which side is up. And build this very strange collective musical instrument that is one of the few instruments where it's actually much better if you're really drunk, if you play them. And here's a smaller version for kids with, the idea was for kids with autism, to reach kids that don't want any physical contact or eye contact, or they like to listen inwards. So this is a way to explore the music instrument by hugging. We also made a fluffy one because they're way too, they're not nice to hug. So the combination of 6 sides with different, that create different loops. If you don't press any side, the first side you press, that is the choice of a musical bank. So that way you can have more than interaction. And also the app kind of looked like the Rubik's Cube. So I bought 16 of these 4x4x4 cubes. And me and Per-Olof Jernberg, who are going to make a talk later on, built this music instrument. There's a camera on top that recognizes color on the different positions. So it's one polyphonic instrument per color. But each position, if a position is locked, then you have to twist the move and think a lot just to make the smallest change. So this instrument is more difficult to play than the violin. What's the point of that? Why does it have to be easy? Using the same technique, we built a candy sequencer. It only works with M&M candy because it had so much artificial coloring. It sounds good, and when you're done, you just eat the song. And it works with Lego, and it should work with insect, but don't use this stick insect because they move very slowly and the music becomes really boring. We built this bar where the guests create music together with their drinks. So alcohol and music has always been a very good combination. But there are 2 phenomena happening at the same time. With this bar, it's the same thing. There's an infrared camera this piece of furniture that is looking up to the top of the bar, reading some sort of QR codes, controlling synchronized loops with the Super Collider, and visuals in Resolume. And when you mix the drinks, you do that with deep bass with this machine, so you get these chromatic patterns, which makes the drinks look good and taste good. So I think almost anything could become a musical instrument, or something I can play with. You just have to have the right mindset. We transformed this block in Kista, the block called Nude, into the world's biggest online game using connected Philips Hue light bulbs. You play it online, where you were coupled to another person online on this website, and you were playing online and on the building in real time. And right now there's something else, just an animation I did for a building in Sao Paulo in Brazil to make that house come alive. Pedestrian tunnels. research show that these are the environments in the urban environments that we hate the most, the dull and the scary. So me and my colleague Max Björvrud, we have transformed 5 tunnels in Stockholm and some suburbs. So when you sing a note, there's a microphone in one of the metal boxes that pick up what key you're singing. And it sings back with the same note, but with a beautiful sample voice in the acoustic of the tunnel. So even if you don't sing that well, like Max here, he's singing really bad, as you can hear, the tunnel sings back, and it's also self-learning. So the system remembers all the tones sung by everyone who's been there. And if no one is singing, has been singing for a while, it bursts out in a song that is built on the most common tones in the most common order by all citizens. So with these 3 simple boxes, tunnels become empathic, listening, musical, self-learning, with not much, I mean, it doesn't cost much and it doesn't really change the environment, but you change the vibe of the place. This summer, I added synchronized music into the ticking boxes for visually impaired in Stockholm City. That was a part of Stockholm Eurovision. And visual impaired study actually helps safety. I mean, you hear that stupid Eurovision song, then you have to get away. We do this workshop where kids and grown-ups can build a very simple synthesizer, and all the components are less than 30 Swedish kronor. And we put them in trees. There's a picture of a bird, and they sort of kind of make bird sounds. So we put them in trees as a new species of electronic interactive birds to make this city sounding more interesting and to make music and electronic accessible for everyone. This is another attempt. It's a synthesizer made of 4 pieces of A3 paper that is folded in a certain way. There's a surface with some holes, and the next surface, next layer is circuits printed on conductive ink on a normal, printer. So a lot of ideas. And most of them are trying to explore what music can be except what it already is. Like almost nothing else, music has changed over the past few years. It has changed totally. It used to be a piece of plastic that you bought in a record shop, and now it's like tap water. You expect to have access to almost all music there is right away and with no cost. And a recording that used to cost, to build a studio, that used to cost millions. And now you get, it's very easy to get a recording studio for free. So I'm trying to say that music has completely changed with technology. And being at the front line of that technology, we don't only push the limits of what music can be, but we can also inspire others, other areas that will soon see the same transformation as music. So thank you.